All right, let's check this clip out from, what is it, The Economist? Tucker Carlson on whether Trump betrayed America first over the Iran war. Yeah, The Economist. Let's check this out.
In your copious podcasting about this in the last 2 weeks, you have made the argument very strongly that the United States has been pushed into something not in its own national interest by pressure from Israel and the lobbying power of Israel.
Well, it has been. The question is whether the person who makes the ultimate decision, who would be President Trump, should have pushed back. That's it. Of course, Trump should have pushed back.
As previous presidents have done.
To some extent, some very limited extent. George W. Bush didn't push back. We wound up in the Iraq War, and now everyone pretends, oh, that had nothing to do with Israel. I was there. I was talking to Bush. That's not true. That's a lie. And that's why it's so important, from my perspective, to say out loud what is true before history is rewritten and disappears.
Very clear.
And it's lying that gets us here. Because we say, oh, no, lobbying efforts had no effect. Really? We say that about our pharmaceutical policy? No. Everybody understands that every policy a large government makes, including ours, is influenced by various stakeholders who were affected by that policy. But this is the one area we have to be like, no, it had nothing to do with the fact that his biggest donors were pushing him to do this, or the BB visited 7 times in 1 year. Are you joking? I'm not going to play along with the lies anymore. I don't hate Jews. I don't hate Israel. I love my country. This has happened yet again. I can give you a whole list of previous times where it's happened. And I think we need to know what happened so we don't hurt ourselves further.
I am not saying...
He's making a lot of good points, man. It's America first, right? Take care of the people here. Make sure that nothing is lacking for no U.S. citizen here, right? I've seen, I'm not going to lie, I've seen veterans on the streets, right, asking for money, homeless and stuff. So we got to do a better job, for sure.
Don't blame Israel. I think Israel has its own national interests, and Israel was certainly pushing for things. But I think there is more agency and therefore more responsibility with the President of the United States and the Trump administration.
I wouldn't disagree. He represents me. I live here.
But that's important, because in the way you described it,
yeah, he's a public servant. He represents the people. The people put him in charge, right? And is this what the people want? That's the question.
Into this. Now, he shouldn't have gone along with it. He should have pushed back. But to pretend that Trump woke up one morning is like, no, I think
I'm not suggesting that, to be clear.
No, Israel pushed him. The prime minister, and by the way, it's not Israel. There are a lot of people who disagree in Israel. I know some of them. It was the prime minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, who pushed our president into doing this. And I hope this is the last time that Netanyahu or any foreign head of state will ever push an American president to do something that hurts America.
Well, let's talk about that, because I think we may be, as you yourself said earlier, at a tipping point in terms of the rapid decline within the United States for support for Israel. Maybe. And you see it huge. I mean, you've seen it for several years on the Democratic side. You're now seeing it on the...
After watching the professor, right, the Canadian professor, Professor Young, I think is his name, and he's saying, that rabbis and people in Israel are happy that it's happening, that people hate Israel, that people hate the Jews, right? A lot of this is playing into their hands, right? Whether it be Tucker, Candace Owens, this new guy, Joe Kent, who else? Who else is on that list? Nick Fuentes is another one, right? Where it's like bashing Israel and stuff. You're playing right into their hands. You're doing what they want you to do, right? In terms of eschatology, right? Because, it's written in the scriptures that, the world will come against, the state of Israel in a sense, right? The nations will rise against the state of Israel. They'll be gathered at the place called Armageddon, right? Where God is gonna pass the judgment, right? So all of these things, I get it, right? You have to be careful. You're playing right into their hands. In other words, you're just a pawn in their game by doing this, right? How can you avoid it? How can you avoid doing that? By driving the masses en masse, right, to, hating Israel and stuff, and criticizing and all these things, right? In this, there's hate and stuff that's being generated at the same time. The best thing to do is to not talk about it at all. But sadly, it's too late, and it's just going to get worse from here.
Conservative side, and you're seeing a collapse amongst younger people. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. How quickly is that going to change the politics of Israel in the United States?
I mean, it's hard to know. There doesn't seem to be a direct connection, not just on Israel or foreign policy, but on almost any issue between what our leaders believe and do and what the public thinks and wants. The public begins to believe in their frustration at their declining standard of living, for example, or declining birth rates, or whatever it is that's getting worse, and a lot is, that there's no way to use legitimate means to change it. Voting doesn't work. If they believe that, then they will, by definition, find other ways, and those ways are destructive, and I don't want that. So I think it's very important that a government, even a non-democracy, even a monarchy, respond to the concerns of the population. You can ignore them for a while. If you ignore them for too long, you get overthrown.
Let's talk, though, a little bit more about how this...
He's right, man. So it's like the prices are going up. I'm one who's living paycheck to paycheck, right? Struggle is real. You're stretching out every dollar. You can't go on vacations. You can't, if you do, you got to sacrifice in other areas, right? You know what I mean? So you got to take that into account as well. Now, I don't have a family. I don't have a wife. I have father, no children, right? Nothing like that. And even then, as a single male, right, in his 30s, it's not easy. It's not easy. And so you have to stretch every dollar, right, at the stores, right? Well, here where I'm from, sometimes they have deals, so you got to take advantage of coupon day and stuff like that, right? In order to, make every dollar count. But it's getting real. It's getting real hard out here, man. And I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Declining support for Israel, which I think is one of the most significant political shifts in the United States in recent years. How is that shaping the MAGA movement? I mean, are you now seeing... when I look at the opinion polls, I'm told that there's 100% support amongst MAGA or 95% support for the war. On the other hand, you're clearly a man with a large number of followers who is making a very, very different argument.
I was standing next to Trump at his house when he got elected. I've known him a long time. I talked to him a lot. So, I don't fully understand what MAGA is, but I know that the core promise of the Trump political movement, Make America Great Again, was America First. And it was articulated by him repeatedly at every campaign stop for 10 years. So everyone in America knows this. I think everyone globally knows this. The core of this movement was the idea that you would, and we could debate about how you do it, but you would try to put the interests of your country at the center of every calculation about how you manage your country and how you interact with the world. It's the single most obvious and single most popular political concept ever devised.
Do you think Donald Trump has betrayed America First?
I think that this war is something that he promised he wouldn't do, not once, but countless times. And until YouTube is banned, we'll be able to prove that.
Well, to be fair, he did say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. He did say that. If they have that or not, I don't know, right? But he did say that. So when you say cannot have, that means that you're going to do everything you can so that does not happen, right? Everything you can. Obviously, you're going to try, de-escalation tactics first, talks and stuff and reason together, right? But then if no reasons can be made or the other side does not agree, then at that point, that's when you start raising, physical contact, at that point, some kind of military action. Now, at the same time, right, there were promises that were made, and some of them have been, fulfilled for sure, right? He has fulfilled a lot on some of the promises that were made. Some of them were kept, but there's still some promises that have not been, fulfilled, have not come to fruition in a sense, right? So there is that as well. Would he betray America First? It depends on what lens you look at it, right? If you or me don't benefit from this, then this is clearly not America First, right? If it is true or it is the case that he made a deal or that they gave him some kind of oil deal, he said yesterday, right? A reporter asked him, what? He said, they gave us a gift and it's in regards to oil and gas and stuff like that, right? Well, I want to see my taxes reduced, right? I want to see prices come down. And that's not happening. So I'm not benefiting from this. Neither are you, right? You, the viewer, whoever's watching this. So we're at odds here. So it's not America first. It's somebody else is benefiting from this, right? But it's not you or me.
That. And the idea behind it is not only contrary to America first, it may be its inverse. There's no argument that changing the regime in Iran helps the United States. And if there is an argument, I'd love to hear it. And by the way, if that argument is sensible and convincing, I will support it. All I care about is the United States. But I haven't heard that argument a single time. All I've heard is the kind of tiresome fear-mongering about nuclear weapons, which Iran did not have. It's insulting, actually.
What about like North Korea, right? They have nuclear weapons. What about Pakistan, right? That's another one. They have nuclear weapons. We're going to go after them too. And we're going to go after those countries that supposedly have them, right? That supposedly say they have them. I haven't seen it with my own eyes. I don't know if it's true or not. But it's the same thing here. They have them, right? And here's what I think, man. I think that if Iran actually had these things, they would not have done what they did. Right? Because now they have something to defend themselves with, right? This would not have happened. That's why we don't mess with North Korea. That's why we don't go into Pakistan, right? Because they have. That's why we don't go into Russia, because they have it, supposedly. They have it. So this is just like some kind of bully tactic. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Make that argument to me that Iran's nuclear program posed such a threat to the United States 3 weeks ago that we had to launch a full-scale war against them. No one's even arguing that because it's stupid and the facts don't support it. So why did we do this when we did it? Because Israel wanted to do it. They chose the timing here. No one disputes that. And timing in war, as in life, is a lot of it. And it determines.
Now, supposedly there's like negotiations ongoing now, but the 82nd Airborne is going in. At the same time, negotiations are going on, supposedly. Israel is still attacking them, and Israel's the ally. So it's like, whatever talks, it's just like, it's like that friend that's meddling in, into something where you're trying to have peace, and they're like keeping you from having peace, right? I even saw today on X, actually, that somebody in Iran, one of the leaders said, all of this is a lie. Like, you're negotiating with yourselves. Like, nobody has reached out at all. So, that could be AI. It's not easy to tell with, the days we're living in now.
Outcome.
It's crazy.
They hadn't thought through what was going to happen next. The Israelis hadn't, and we hadn't, because we didn't have time to.
It sounds to me like you think he has betrayed it.
This war is clearly contrary to what he promised and contrary to the idea that your leaders should put your interests before those of foreigners, period. We put Israel's interests before ours. Trump did that. Bibi's wasn't elected president of my country. My president was. I supported him, obviously, voted for him. But, yeah.
Let's talk about the way the debate develops in this country, because I think you're right. It's extremely difficult to talk about the subject that you and I have just spent the last half hour talking about, because there is a conflation very often. Anybody who criticizes Israel is vulnerable to being called anti-Zionist or anti-Semitic.
As soon as you do, they come out of the woodwork, and that's what they say, man. You cannot talk bad about Netanyahu. You cannot criticize. You cannot criticize the state of Israel. You cannot criticize its actions, because right out of the gate, you're an anti-Semite, you're an anti-Zionist, and you hate the Jews. That's what they do. That's crazy. That's crazy, man. And we're not gonna let that get in the way anymore. We're not gonna be bullied into that anymore. They fucked up, and that's that. And they shouldn't have done what they did. And Benjamin Netanyahu also shouldn't have said, even though he quoted from some stupid ass man who wrote in a book, even though those weren't his words exactly, he should not have said that shit. Okay, he shouldn't have said that shit. Oh, but you're a Christian, right? Why are you cussing, right? Because enough is enough. Enough of the games. Enough of the BS. Enough of the rhetoric, right? We shouldn't be over there at all, right? No American life should be lost over this crap that nobody is benefiting. I'm not benefiting from it, man. I'm still paying my own bills. I'm still, I haven't received a check from this. It's not like, oh, we're going to go over there, right? And we're going to share the wealth with everybody, right? I'm not a stakeholder in regards to what's happening over there with Chevron or whoever else. is taking over that in Venezuela, and neither are you. Right? It doesn't. It's not for me. I'm not benefiting from this. Right? This whole situation sucks. It sucks. Then you can make the argument, right? Well, if we had voted for Kamala Harris, right, what would have happened then? I wouldn't know. I couldn't tell you, right? And it wouldn't matter at all because at the end of the day, this is what's true. While it is upsetting, right, and we're human after all, right? We can react to things. That's okay, right? By all means, vent your frustrations, right? Vent your frustrations. That's what they're there for. These are public servants. They're there to take shit, right? They serve at our will, at your and my will, right? The grass at the White House is yours and mine. The Congress, the seats they sit in, the restrooms that are in there, we're the taxpayers, right? That belongs to the people. They serve at the will of the people, right? Could we not have had some kind of delegation process or some kind of voting, something where it was like, okay, this is what we're thinking of doing. We're thinking about going into Iran, and other people to go cast a vote based on the general population, right? Should we go in there? Should we not go in there? This is what we can achieve. I promise that if we do go in there, if you say that you want us to go in there, we'll go in there. We're gonna bring prices down. For a while, they're gonna come up, but at the end of the day, you're gonna be shareholders, right? In regards to all these gas, all right, and all these minerals that are under the soil, right? All these mineral rights, you all will have access and generational wealth, right? This is what. But if you don't, right, we can keep doing what we're doing. This is just one thing. There's an opportunity here. No, they just jumped the gun and did this on their own, and that's what sucks. That's what sucks. And nobody counted on us. People are afraid to criticize anybody now. Nobody does anything, even at the local level, right? Don't have the same mentality, right? But you have to remember, the people had power. They have power. They just don't know how to wield it. They don't know how to wield it. And that's the problem, right? We became too comfortable, right? We became too comfortable. Oh, by all means, right? We have, there's terrorists. There's terrorists, right? Oh, does that mean that you have to go through my cell phone, right? Without my permission. In order to ensure society is safe, go ahead, by all means, invade my privacy. That way we can ensure that society is, and it's fear-mongering in order to pushing a narration, to push an agenda, right? And the people will bend backwards because as long as there's fear that's driving it, right? And as long as it's about safety. But it's not true. It's an illusion. Right? It's an illusion. But people are comfortable, right? They got DoorDash on the phone. They got X and TikTok and Facebook on the phone, right? And YouTube and all these things, right? Some people go on there and they look at nudes, right? Some people exchange nudes, right? They go on their phone, they're jacking off, right? Whatever it is, etc., right? People are too comfortable. People are too comfortable, man. And we don't know what it's like to be uncomfortable. We don't know what that is. And the day that happens, when something forces us to become uncomfortable, right? By the time the people notice, it's going to be too late. It's going to be too late. And it already is too late. There's nothing we can do. There's a lot of these talks about, at the midterms, I'm going to vote. What does that do? It does nothing. It's the same people. It's one master, right? Holding two puppets. Giving you the illusion to think that you have a choice. You don't. We don't have a choice. They're going to do whatever was going to happen because that's what was going to happen anyway. But wouldn't it have been something, man? Hey, the White House is sending out, right? Remember when they did that test on your phone? They're sending out on your phone, right? You can vote now. Press 1 if you agree, right? That we should go into Iran, that we should go into Venezuela and these other areas, right? That we should be the policemen of the world. Press 1. Press 2 if you don't. And we're going to go like that, right? We're going to vote like that. But they're just going to do whatever they want anyway. And it's sad, man.
Conflation, by the exact people you've just been talking about, in the kind of firmament of political discussion.
Do you think that's a good faith response or a tactic?
I'm about to ask you that question. Clearly, I think you and I agree. We have both been critical of the Israeli government. I just want to kind of clarify terms a bit here.
Well, I've really been critical of the Israeli government.
I've been plenty critical of the Israeli government. I've told you at the beginning that we were against this war.
What do you think of Gaza?
What do I think of Gaza?
Yeah.
I think the war in Gaza, to start with, was a perfectly reasonable response in response to the horrors of October 7th. I think now the places, I mean, I've been there. Have you been to Gaza? I've been to Gaza since the war started.
They would not
it's
let
catastrophic.
me into Gaza. Trust me, very few journalists get into Gaza.
Yeah, no, I went with the IDF. It's the only way that you can go in.
Right, but according to Netanyahu and stuff, right, Jesus' ways is not, right, because he's quoting some book, right? And you all heard the quote. I don't have to quote it again, right? But imagine if you had sat down before then. Imagine if you had just sat down across it. Oh, we've done it in the past, right? Did you? Or were you trying to push an agenda? Were you trying to push something to meet a goal? Sit down with the opposition, right? Figure it out. Hash things out. Hammer them out, right? What do you want? Oh, we don't want you to be here on the land. Okay, fine. We'll go somewhere else. So what? They don't want you to be here, okay? Well, we want to be here. Right? How can we work this out, right? What's the problem? Why don't you like us, right? What can we do? But you can't have any dialogue, man. And whoever didn't try, or whoever, that's not the point. The point is that we could do better. At this day and age. Back then, with caveman thinking and stuff, and I gotta go attack, right? But the day and age we live in today, man, communication is readily available, right? I can talk to somebody, across the world from here. FaceTime, I can see them on the screen. But even with how easy it became to talk to one another, we became cold towards one another. It's like people don't matter, right? And the Bible talks about this. Their hearts will go cold in those days. The love of many will go cold. It says that. They will call evil good and good evil. It says that. And the war on Gaza, right? I get it. I get it. October 7 happened. I get it. They attacked the people. I get it. But at the same time, I demand transparency, right? What happened? Supposedly, you have all this technology, right? And the walls and cameras and stuff. You couldn't detect this? Mossad is like the equivalent of CIA, and they have intel and stuff. They didn't know about this? They didn't know they were planning this? A third world peoples, essentially? You couldn't tell us that they were going to do this? You had no clue, huh? But we're never going to get transparency. We're never going to get that, right? Because more than likely it's the case that they let it happen. They let it happen. Or maybe they didn't. See, we don't know because we don't have proof. Oh, but they said anybody can say anything. Santa Claus is real. There, I said something. Does that make it true? Does that make it true, bro? It doesn't.
Nonetheless, you go in and you see a flattened place. I think it is a disaster for the future of Israel, a disaster for the Palestinian people, a horror, 70,000 people dead.
Why would you describe it first as a disaster for the future of Israel? You've got tens of thousands of civilians murdered, but it's foremost a disaster for the future of Israel? No, it's foremost a disaster for the families of the dead kids.
Absolutely. I made 3 points.
Because everybody sucks up to Israel in this way that suggests they're afraid. And everyone is afraid, and you know that. Everyone's like, the real problem is calling people anti-Semites allows real anti-Semites to flourish. It's like, no, actually, the real problem with calling people anti-Semites who aren't is accusing the innocent of a crime they didn't commit. And the real crime in Gaza is killing people who did nothing wrong. So those are the real problems, I would say. But no one can say it because you have to be like, oh, no, but...
I agree 100% with Tucker, man.
Really, October 7th
I don't know what you're talking about, Carlson. We're having a...
Everyone watching this knows what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Well, let's get on to that right now.
Yeah.
Because you are critical of the government of Israel. Do you believe in Israel's right to exist? Would you consider yourself a Zionist in that narrow definition?
What does that mean, a right to exist?
The existence of the political state of Israel as
But
it
has
existed,
a right. What does that mean?
that you think it should continue in its existence as a state right now. So you do not agree with Iran, for
What a
example.
stupid question, man. What a stupid question, right? This is like the dumbest question you could ask. It's some kind of tactic. What are you playing at by asking that stupid question? It's such a stupid question, man. Does any country at that point have a right to exist? Right? What a stupid question that is. Every country has a right to exist. What the hell? If the people voted you into power, you're in charge of the people. You have a country to govern. You have a right to exist, right? Because people put you into power. What a stupid question, man. What is that question supposed to mean?
I mean, just to ask, since you asked me the question, it's fair for me to get you to define the term so I can answer it. You've asked two questions. The first was, do you believe Israel has a right to exist? And the second question was, do you believe Israel should continue to go on as a nation state? And those are very different questions. So I often hear the phrase...
Having been created as a political entity in 1948.
Now just look at this, right? Just look at the history, right? That area has always been known to conflict. Always. It's always in conflict, right? Probably since the dawn of time, right? Or since the Bible, right? Is always known to never have peace. Now, the state of Israel was an experiment in 1948, right? Global powers said that they were going to create the state of Israel. We've tried it, right, for like 70 some years now. How about we try for 70 some years now going somewhere else? How about that? Let's see what happens. It was an experiment after all, right? No. Let's see what happens for 70 some years, right? When you're a scientist, you run experiments, right? And you want to test your hypothesis. The question here is, right, is the world safer or more at peace with Israel there or not there, right? You're gonna test both experiments. You're gonna run an experiment. Right? Are we safer with Israel there? And then are we safer with Israel not there, right? Going somewhere else, right? That's all it is. You can go somewhere else, right? That's all you gotta do. Right? I don't imagine that that's too difficult to do. Well, for the sake of experimentation, right? Let's see what really is. And if it turns out that it didn't matter, well, then it didn't matter, right? Well, go ahead. You can return if you want to. If you want to return. Obviously, it made no difference, right? And that's the question I also have for the Muslims, right? To what end? To what end is this for, right? Let's say you actually got what you wanted, right? According to them, they want to remove the Israeli state from there. Now what? It's not going to be enough there. It's never enough for both sides. So what's the problem? What are they aiming at? What is the bigger agenda here, right? And this is where I have to agree with the Canadian professor, right, Professor Jiang, where this is eschatology. It's bringing about the end of the world. It's forcing the hand to do it. And, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for, man. That's all I can say. Because when the time comes, a lot of people are going to be in for a rude awakening. And if you're thinking that Jesus is going to come back and it's going to be lovey-dovey and hugs and, you've got another thing coming, man. You've got another thing coming. I urge you to read Revelation, see what it actually says, see what's going to happen. See what happens to people. See why his, I think he has like a cloak or something. We'll see why it's dipped in blood, right? You're going to be in for a rude awakening. A lot of people are, right? And I pray it happens. Right, go ahead, once and for all, right? Obviously, this experimentation has not worked out. We need God, bro, to come and fix this once and for all, right? Is this how we're meant to live, bro? Honestly, think about it. We're worried about cultural shit that is not relevant at all. How I look, how I dress, what society says is great, what I should attain, a house, a car, luxury, a bank, working from 8 to 5. Is this how we're supposed to be living, man? Working for money? Or are we supposed to, as mankind, supposed to come together, right, in harmony, helping each other out for us to see, right? When Jesus says, where were you when I was naked, and when I was without food, and when I was without water, right? And you didn't come clothe me, and you didn't come feed me, and you didn't give me anything to drink, right? And they asked him, right, when did we see you like that? And he says, truly I tell you, right, whenever you didn't do any for the least of these, whenever you didn't do it for any of the least of these, you didn't do it also unto me. But if you had clothed them, those who needed clothes, or you gave food to those who were hungry, you also did it unto him. And we see each other in that light, that Jesus is in everybody, or has the potential to be. But, this prophecy was also going to come true, man. The love of many is going to grow cold, and that's what has happened.
Does it
Does
have a
that
right
state-
to exist? Is that what you're asking?
I don't want to get hung up on the right.
No,
to
no,
it. Should
it's-
it
no.
Should it
It's
continue
not-
to exist? That's how I define narrowly Zionism.
Because the phrase you used was devised by the Israeli government. Of course, does it have a right to exist? And so my question to you would be, what does that mean?
Why don't you answer my question? It's a very
I
simple
don't know what your
question.
question is. Are you asking,
Whether
does it
the
have a right
political
to exist,
state
or do I want it to exist? Do
Do
I
you-
seek its destruction?
Fine, answer it that way.
Well, of course I don't seek its destruction. I've
that's
already
clear.
said, as you know, because I said it to you, I don't want Israel to be destroyed or have to use nuclear weapons.
We've established that you are in that narrow terms a Zionist. If that's how
I'm
we're
in
going to
no
define
sense a
it.
Zionist. I don't want any country to be destroyed at all, and I don't want people to die, particularly ones who committed no crime, because I don't believe in killing innocents, period. That's the basis of Western civilization. Eastern civilization is a whole different view. They believe in collective punishment. I don't.
So you're in no sense a Zionist.
I don't even know what that means. Why don't you define the term, and then I'll tell you whether I am.
I've just defined it. And
What's
you
a
said
Zionist?
that a Zionist, in my narrow term, this definition is that the state of Israel, the political state of Israel, has the right to continue existing.
The right? Where does that right come from? What do you mean? These are I'm not being a lawyer about it. I just want to know what you're asking me.
to answer the question.
Because I don't know what you're asking me.
Let's go to the
Wait,
third.
no. I think a lot. You don't want to define your question, and I don't know why. I don't know what you're asking me. I've already said I don't want Israel to be destroyed. I don't want anyone to be killed. And you've...
That's why they've been taken over, throughout history, man. Babylon, I can't think of it, Rome, Greek Empire, I'm sure, different empires that were Salahuddin and them, is because it's not, they can't not govern themselves and make perhaps rational choices. Maybe that's the crux of it. It could be. I don't know. This is all hypotheticals and conjecture, and opinion. Now, that does not make me an anti-Semite or an anti-Zionist, right? If a particular country is causing problems for its neighbors and surrounding, right? Just try it here. Try it here in this neighborhood, man. Take a speaker outside and crank up Van Halen, at 6 a.m. See what happens. See what happens enough times till you get evicted. See what happens. That's the same thing here. Now, I'm not saying that Israel's the one causing this. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if it is the case, right, after everything that we've heard, after everything that we've seen, that Iran is the one in to blame for all of this, for all of these things, if the day should ever come, and then they're going to point the finger at somebody else now, We would have known better. And at this point, it's, we don't even want to take the chance because we've seen what has happened in the past. The Iraq War, Vietnam, Korean War. So worry about your people, man. Right? Worry about your people. That's not hard to do, right? What are we doing over there, man? What are we doing over there?
Said, does Israel have a right to exist? Does it have a and my question is, what right are you talking about? Does Britain have a right to exist? Does the United States have a right to exist?
There was a world order built up after 1945 which suggested that aggression should not be condoned into countries. That countries with borders have the right to continue.
I totally agree with that.
Okay.
If that's, which is why the first thing that Israel did within 2 weeks of this war starting, which is supposedly existential for them, was take southern Lebanon, take someone else's country, as they have done repeatedly. And no one even mentions that. And so I guess I would be opposed to that because I think Lebanon has a right to exist. I thought Gaza had a right to exist. But I noticed that as soon as we start apportioning rights, only one country gets them.
No, I did not say that. You're absolutely putting words.
No, he's not wrong. And he's not putting words in her mouth either. Right? Only Israel has the right to exist. Only Israel has the right to protect it. Only Israel has the right, not Gaza, not Lebanon, like he said, not anybody else. Only Israel, bro. Ha! What a bunch of horse shit if I ever saw, And I'm not gonna buy into the narration, man. Like I said, I'm with the crowd, right? Only because those rabbis had said, that it was great, that people hated. I love Israel, bro. Shit. That's what we gotta be pushing, man. You gotta push it. I love Israel. Yes, go Israel, Because the opposite of that is playing right into their hands. Or don't mention them at all. Would probably be the best thing to do. The opposite of love is not hate. It's, what is it? It's the cold shoulder. Right? Ignoring. Making it seem like they don't even exist. Don't talk about them. Don't mention them. That's probably the way to, to combat it. But it's too late at this point. All of these things are playing. We'll check the comments in a bit. But all of these things are playing right into their hands.
So, because I believe, here's what I do believe, since you asked. I believe in universally applicable standards. And if they're not universally applicable, they're not standards, they're preferences. That's why I believe in human rights, not ethnic rights. I don't think Jews have more rights or less rights than anyone else. I don't think Christians have more rights or less rights, blacks, Filipinos. I believe in human rights that derive from the creation of people by God.
Now, anybody who violates those rights, whatever party it is, the people have a right to, take those people out. Whoever violates somebody else's right, they have not necessarily like take them out like unalive, but what I want to say is like make sure that they get punished. You know what I mean? Let's check out the comments and see what this is about, right? Now, this is the Economist channel. Release the full interview. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Talker. Yes, we do. I never in my life thought I would be in a place where I am in total agreement with Tucker Carlson. I am canceling my Economist subscription in a week if they don't release the full interview. So they haven't released it? Oh, that was 4 days ago. The best thing Tucker did was get fired from Fox for sure. Everyone watching this knows what I'm talking about. Button. Thank you, Tucker Carlson. They use a softer term, lobbying, to mask, right? What is that even too, bro? Right, you have the Democrats and the Republicans, but there's some Jews that are Democrats and there's Jews that are Republicans. But it's not a Jewish issue. He himself said that there's Jews who don't agree with these actions, right? So it's the people in power that are the problem. I don't believe in unaliving innocent, period. I support Tucker all the way with this. Everyone watching this knows what I am talking about. Yep. That is the case. I wouldn't be surprised if even this video I'm recording gets taken down. How to get dog walked by an interview. So let me know what you think in the comments, man. I'd be curious to see, right, your insights. I'm always up for, hearing different points of view. Again, I'm going to stand firm on my stance is Just don't mention them at all. That's the best thing you could do, right? Don't play into their hands. If they're pushing an agenda to bring about the end times, don't play into their hands at all, bro. That's the best thing you can do. But unfortunately, it is too late. Do you want to know what to do? Leave a like, comment, subscribe, follow, repost, all that good stuff. And I will see you all in the next one, man. Peace.